Hi, my name is Natasha Watts, and I chose to do my research project on cultural identity theory. The reason I chose to do my project on cultural identity theory is because as a teacher, I work with all types of diverse students that have different cultures. Also, as an undergrad, I went to school in a diverse population. Cultural identity theory refers to a person's sense of belonging in a particular culture or group. Typically, people accept the belief, values, norms, and social practice of their cultural identities themselves with that culture. The insight of cultural identities has been received sustained attention from scholars and communication and cultures in the last few decades. Cultural identity theory determines the aspect of an individual personality, behavior, and the way they are viewed by others. Many schools have different diversities. In one study, scholars investigated student teachers' cultural identity knowledge. The student teachers had to participate in discussions about cultural identity, also how to apply it in the classroom. At the end of this study, teachers had to write their narratives. This gave teachers the opportunity to reach students that had a different culture, and they had to learn how to do things not just one way, in different ways to reach all their students. And this helped them more in the classroom. Another study that scholars did were test children's knowledge on cultural identity. After the study, students were supposed to be able to visualize and verbally express cultural identities from one's viewpoints. Also, the children used cultural identity theory to describe and analyze one's culture's identities. This taught the children the importance of recognizing identities. By scholars doing this study, students were able to work together and learn that people are different than them, but you are all still considered equal and you should treat everyone the same. And it taught students to learn other students' culture and how to work together. Students that are diverse and have a cultural identity can be bullied by students. And one of the reasons why they're bullied is because some students don't have the knowledge that other students are different. They come from different parts of the world. Also, children may laugh when they speak because they sound differently. So, a lot of times when students sound different, other students think it's funny when it's not. Oftentimes, children are left to feel like an outsider. So, a child that comes from a different part of the world and have a different culture sometimes feel like an outsider because they feel that no one understands them, that they have to adapt to what Americans do, and no one takes the time to understand where they come from and how they do things. Some of them try to hide their culture identity because they just want to fit in and be seen as normal. A lot of times, these children try to fit in because they want to be seen as normal. They don't want to be judged and they don't like being made fun of. They just want to be seen as normal. So, a lot of times, they try to fit in. They don't try to do as much as the things that they were taught in their culture. Oftentimes, they feel that they are judged by others. Also, they may feel misunderstood. They may have a hard time adapting to what Americans do. Some of them feel that they are made fun of by others. For example, let's say you see a woman or a man dressed from head to toe, and their face is pretty much covered. Americans sometimes make comments of that person might have a bomb, they're going to blow us up. But that doesn't mean that's true. That's the way they dress. Also, sometimes it might not be Americans' fault that they think that way. We have been taught to think that. But we have to break the cycle and stop stereotyping because we really don't know them. A quote that I have: judging a person does not define them, it defines who you are as a person. Also, I have an example, a quote from Littlejohn and Fossil. An African American identity may be less important than gender and the only black person in the class or in an organization. Cultural identity theory also deals with who contracts the social identities of cultural groups and the way in which those identities are communicated. Scholars found that some people do not believe in being traditional. Some people feel that culture is more about the family they create rather than their birth heritage. So some people are trying to not do so much of what they were taught. They want to create something new with their family. They don't feel that they have to be so traditional. It's okay to do new things. Still, some people believe it's better to be traditional. They believe they should pass their heritage down to their own family so their culture can live on. So some people want their culture to live on. They teach it to their children so one day their children can teach it to their children, and it lives on generation to generation and is never forgotten. Even if they move to America, their culture still lives on. Scholars know that individuals adapt their belief, values, norm, and social practice of their culture. Individuals also identify themselves with their culture. However, scholars know that this has to do with how people are raised and people genuinely follow what they were taught. Also, how they are interactive and impact how individuals are understood and seen by others. So a lot to do with culture is how a person is raised. They tend to follow that. Also in my paper, I addressed how people don't understand cultural identity. I also addressed how some Americans wish that they had a culture to follow. They felt like it would have been something different because in America, if we don't come from a different part of the world, we have American culture, but we don't have the culture that they have, the clothes and things that they may wear. Some of them sing different songs, dance, and the foods and things that they eat. A lot of Americans wish that they had that. They thought that would have been different. People need to be more accepting of other people's culture. It is also important not to stereotype. It is important for individuals to know that all people are all human beings, no matter where they come from. All individuals were created by the same God. So, what that means is we shouldn't be so quick to judge someone just because they're different. We need to take the time to understand them. The reason why this study was so important to me, because a few years ago, as an undergrad, I went to school with a diverse population, such as Africans, Chinese, Philippines. And what I learned is they still do the same things as Americans. And I didn't have a good understanding of them at first. But by the end of the semester, I had a better understanding and I wasn't so quick to judge. So it's important for us not to judge someone just because they are different. Thank you.